In Hebrews chapter 2, look what it says in verse 14. For as much then as the children are partakers of flesh and blood, he also himself likewise took part of the same. Now that's talking about Jesus. Jesus came in flesh and blood. That through death, he might destroy him that had the power of death, that is the devil. Now, notice the tense. Had, underline it. He doesn't have it over the believer anymore. He had it. Ecclesiastes said in the Old Testament, the power was on the side of the oppressor. Satan was the one who had that power, because that power hadn't been taken from him. That authority was still in Satan's hands. That's why you don't see anybody in the Old Testament casting out a devil. They didn't have that. You've got something called a better covenant. And sometimes people read the old covenant and they apply it to their life and think that's as far as they can go. Folks, you got more covenant than they got. That was a type and shadow of the reality of the new covenant. So I'm only saying they couldn't be children in the Old Testament. Now you can be a child. Let's keep going. Verse 15. And deliver them who through fear of death were all their lifetime subject to what? Bondage. Fear of death. Well, I fear flying. No, you don't. You fear dying. Got it? Now, what happened was Satan used fear as a weapon. And he controlled people with it and set up an entire society based on fear. God has a kingdom based on faith. So now the enemy runs that. You fear doing that. Oh, I'm afraid. Oh, don't do that. I'm afraid something might happen. And we just use it, and fear and death just rolls out of people's mouths. Now, that was the old nature. That's when before we got born again. But once we got born again, now we're over here. We can operate a totally different way. However, our minds haven't been renewed to the fact that our spirits are brand new. So now Jesus came to bring us back up to that level that Satan that God had proclaimed for us in the first place, and no longer are we locked into this. So when Jesus was operating in the earth, he operated in and out of time. Are you with me? So I want to point out a couple of the mentality, the timeless mentality that Jesus was teaching. He was teaching, preaching, and healing, but he was operating in a timeless gospel. He was operating in a timeless reality as he was doing that. He was showing some people something. Let's go to John chapter 8, please. John chapter 8. Now remember what we said. There is no time in who? In God. There is no time in God. God has no birthdays. There is no time. Everything with God is when? Right now. Right now. Tomorrow is when? Now with God. How about next month? When is it? Now. So God doesn't have to set up for next month.